Hi everybody, it's John Galante, president of AE Ventures, here with another one of our Builder Innovator Closer Looks. And today we're going to take a closer look at the leading builders of America with their CEO, Ken Gear. Ken, let's kick it right off.
Great.
And maybe you could tell us a little bit about the origins of Leading Builders of America, current membership, and mission.
Sure. Well, happy to be here. So we started back in 2007, right in the middle of the Great Recession. And we had quite a number of public policy issues coming together for the industry and trying to save the industry because we were really on our knees at that time.
Yeah, I like to say it was the Great Depression for housing.
It was.
Really
Absolutely was.
Because we went down to 20% of where we were and stuck there for years.
That's right. And we haven't really fully recovered yet. So we started then. Our members wanted a more direct line of communication to policymakers on the Hill and in the White House. So they wanted to have direct conversations, and they wanted a forum for the production builders to go to the Hill and talk about the market and what is needed. So it started then. We're a small organization. We're nimble on purpose.
How many members?
We have 21 members right now. Those members are all the big production builders, probably 21 of the top 30 builders in the country. Yep. We've kept it pretty small to be nimble.
Yep.
To really capture the business model of the production builder.
Yeah. So talk about the mission. You're primarily an advocacy organization. Correct?
We are, and we focus on anything that affects our ability to build homes that are affordable for our customers, and we really strive to answer the question, especially these days, why aren't builders building more homes? We have a supply problem in this country. It's well documented, studied a lot, but why can't builders just build more homes? So we try to add our perspective on the ones that actually build the homes to say, here's why, here are the reasons. Yeah. And we've documented those. We've done some research. We know from our operations in the field that what the challenges are, and we try to take those. We try to come up with solutions. Take them to policymakers and educate them about our business.
Yeah. So that's focus right now, right?
That's
is the affordability and the volume.
Correct.
Fill the void, right? Which is 3.9 million units or so.
Thereabouts, depending on who you ask, it's somewhere around there. Yes.
You guys settled on 3.9 million.
Yes.
At least a few months ago, you did.
We did.
Anything else that's cooking right now in terms of priorities and activities?
What's big today is energy and energy efficiency, building a more efficient home. Yeah. But again, doing so, balancing energy with, and there's just a slew of technologies coming down the pike and being innovated by our manufacturers that make homes more efficient, make them more livable, make them more comfortable. And it's a question of how do we take all of those technologies and get them into the homes without making the homes too expensive for people to purchase.
Right. Yeah.
So that's
well, let's hold that thought a little bit because I do want to dive in on that. But first, tell us a little bit more about yourself. You're the CEO.
Yes.
How did you land in this spot? And
I started my career working for my father installing carpet when I was for a number of years until my knees gave out, and then I decided to go to college, law school, and I worked in Boston. I'm from Boston, and worked at the State House. I went to school right next to it and got a job there. No interest in public policy whatsoever, no background in it, until I started working at the State House and then sort of got the bug and understand the process. Over time, I moved up and left a few years later to do lobbying for the retail industry and on the credit side of the house, worked for a national retailer, and then eventually ended up with Pulte Homes in their law department doing legal work and regulatory work. And that led, at the time when the Great Recession happened, I was the only person in a production builder space doing government relations and spending a lot of time here in Washington. Yeah. So I got to know the other companies, and at that point when they decided they wanted their own focused advocate, we got together and we started LBA.
Very cool. Interesting journey.
It is.
From
it is.
flooring to the full house.
That's right. Yeah. You know,
Cool.
Started from the ground up.
So let's talk about your innovation agenda. You know, and I just like, first off, let's understand organizationally, how do you address innovation? Do you have a committee or a task force or tiger team that works on innovation issues? And let's start there.
Yeah, we do. So we have a number of different committees under our board, and it depends on the one that deals with true innovation and on the energy space and the innovation space, home automation. That would be what we call the National Quality Council.
Okay.
And they are a group of sort of building science and purchasing folks who evaluate new products that innovative companies bring to us and say this will be great in your home.
Right.
They're the ones that evaluate them and test them and make sure they work and make sure they're in line with what that company's trying to take to market. And we do also have sort of a mortgage company professional. So if there's innovative new ways of going to market on the financing side, that would be another group that kind of keeps tabs on new innovative ways to come to market.
So you got 21 members.
Yes.
These building science departments, some of them are big, I'm assuming. And so like you have multiple building science types or folks who are interested in the product of the home that are participating actively in this committee?
Yeah, the beauty of LBA is our members do have, they're small groups of building science folks in each company. They're probably the busiest people we have, and they're tough to get on the phone. They're very busy. They're a bit overworked, but they because technology is coming so fast. Yeah. So we have usually most companies have multiple people that are focused on different aspects of whether it's insulation or energy or home automation. There seems to be like the.
So you got a roster of 50, 75 folks who
like
might be active depending on the issue.
Correct.
And so what is the cadence, the frequency of these groups connecting? Do they have a report that they're going to produce on an annual or semi-annual basis for the board to look at? What is that operation
we're a little
of that
more
committee look like?
Formal than that. They do meet twice a year in person, and more often as needed. Usually it comes once every 2 months or so is kind of the cadence of their meeting.
In terms of virtual meetings?
Yes,
video conferences, okay.
And it really is a question of, they are tasked with a couple of things. One, evaluating public policy when it comes to things like energy mandates and requirements of the government to a new Energy Star program will come out. They help us evaluate whether that's viable in the marketplace or how expensive it's going to be to create. And on the second side, what they do is they evaluate products that are coming in from manufacturers, new innovative products. They're the ones that figure out how to make them work. And sometimes they can share best practices with each other.
Yeah, very interesting. So, advocacy, and the question is then advocacy to whom, right?
Yep.
There's lots of different audiences that you can advocate to. So let's start with the government piece. I mean, is there a legislative agenda and an agency relations agenda? Talk to me a little bit.
Yeah, so it's government at all levels. We try to focus on the federal government, being here in D.C.
Yeah.
We're here for very purposefully, and we work with Congress, the U.S. Senate and House on a weekly basis, talking to the relevant committees that are trying to tackle housing policy and innovation when it comes to things like mandates and tax policy, energy policy, things like that. And then we spend probably the majority of our time talking to federal agencies, at least lately, about their regulatory agenda, whether it be home financing. There's a new energy mandate for when the federal government helps finance a home, and how that works practically, and trying to help help us,
Yeah.
make their regulation work a little bit better.
Is that HUD or what? What is it?
It's HUD, it's CFPB, it's
What is
Department of Energy,
CFPB?
the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau.
Okay.
And they regulate the mortgage transaction.
Oh, okay.
So there are a number of agencies that get involved and interact with us.
Yep.
And many people on the Hill and in these agencies have never bought a home. They're younger people that have never experienced the home buying process, or the home ownership experience. So for them, it's
Lots of different experiences out there.
huge difference. So especially living, if you're a young person living in DC, which is super high rent, you're probably living with four different roommates, and you're in a high rise or something, and you're paying a lot of money for rent, and you're living in an old building. That's the typical, and that's what they know.
Okay.
A lot of people. So we try to go up and educate them about there are homes in this country that are not $1 million, like we are in the Beltway,
Right.
There are different. There are so many different. Considerations when it comes to technology in a home, whether the home's in a dry, arid place, whether it's in a place like Minnesota, elevations, availability of water, and basic materials that you need to run a home. So we try to go up there and work on all of these and educate them a little bit about the challenges that we face.
Yeah.
None of them I've ever built a home before, with one or two exceptions. So we try to go up, and a lot of people think they know how to build a home, but it's more sophisticated a process than you think.
Sure.
And
They think about a guy with a hammer.
That's right,
it's
out of a pickup truck.
Bob the Builder.
That's right.
When they were kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we try to go in and educate them about, okay, your ideas are sort of the right track, but that's not the way it works in the real world. And
Right.
so with that's what we try to do, is just educate them so they can make an educated decision instead of telling us how to build a home without knowing those basic facts.
What about labs?
The labs typically get funded through the Department of Energy, and they play a valuable role in that they can be the incubator of new technologies. But I think some of we're spending more and more time focusing on the labs in recent months, and I think that the problem is when you're working in a lab and not out in the field, everything's controlled. So you can build, you can see a new technology, you can test it, and you can say yes it works or it doesn't, or here's what it needs. That doesn't mean it's ready to be put in 500,000 homes.
Right.
So there's a disconnect between what's possible in a lab and what's possible, practical, and scalable. That's the huge. A lot of what we see is very expensive at the innovative level, at the incubator level, and we want to make sure they realize, you saw that, you touched it, you felt it, but it's not ready for prime time.
It's price too. It's
That's right.
variability in terms of
availability.
Yeah, availability. And then the crazy supply chains of home building and all of the different folks that work on stuff.
So a good example of that is glass. We had a recent discussion with a vacuum insulated glass, which is a new technology that makes glass very energy efficient.
Yeah.
Which is something we all want.
Right.
The lab studied the vacuum insulated glass, and we had a conversation with them, and they said, "This is great. This is a great product. It works." And the person running it told us, I have a couple of these windows in my home, and I can tell you they work.
Yeah.
You should put them in your homes.
Yeah.
And one of my members said, well, there are, there was 3 companies in the room, 3 of the biggest builders, and they said, well, together we build, 250,000 homes a year, 25 windows per home. We need 40,000 windows a day, every day. And can that one factory in the country build that? I don't think so. So that's the problem. We need to have a supply chain that meets the.
Well, let's dig in on energy efficiency since you transitioned there, right?
Okay.
And you've been doing a bunch of work in that area. can you summarize any of the highlights on the energy? What have you accomplished? What are you working on the energy efficiency side of things?
Yeah, so we're trying to find ways to. The biggest problem with energy efficiency is the upfront costs.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it. It saves you money. It saves on the operational cost of the home. So
Yeah.
if we can get a customer in an efficient home, their costs of operating that home will be lower in the
Yeah.
terms of lower utility bills.
Yeah.
That's great. Everybody wants that. We agree with that. Customers, regulators, everybody loves that.
Right.
The real problem is the upfront cost. And the upfront cost in many cases makes energy efficiency impractical or unaffordable. And instead of buying the efficient home, customers will go buy the older home that's inefficient
Right.
because of that upfront
Right.
cost. So major policy problem is appraisals. Home appraisals don't account for the upfront cost of efficiency. That you don't get extra value when you add better insulation, better windows, better HVAC system. So we need to solve that and we're working with regulators to solve that, to come up with a new way of appraising the house, so you can get the value, and and therefore once you can get the value, those costs can be amortized in the mortgage.
Yeah.
But as far as in the house efficiency, tremendous progress has been made in the last, I'd say 5, 6, 7 years. A house built today is 50% more efficient than a home built just 10 years ago.
Right.
So, and it's real meaningful difference. It's hundreds of dollars a month.
Right. That's just the conservation side of things, right?
That's
and
right.
we also have generation now.
That's right.
So like this is game changing when you
It
put
is.
these things together, right?
It
so
is.
net zero is easily achievable in many ways, and we can do better than net zero, right? We can be making money on energy.
Yeah, and again, it comes back to policy with so-called net metering, where you need to be able to sell that extra capacity back to the grid.
Yeah.
And California just made that impossible. Yeah. So we have some challenges, but you're right. The future is bright because we have really amazing technologies that are available, and not only lower, more efficient lighting and products, but also controls in the home that can turn
smart
energy
electrical
on and off.
distribution,
Smart
load distribution,
and sensors that can turn things on and off when they're needed.
Monitoring,
So
interacting with the grid. And
that's right.
All of that. Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, it really is game changing.
And
we haven't really quite scoped it all out from a data and metrics perspective to understand how big the differential is with used houses.
That's right. Yes, it's massive. It's obviously more expensive to retrofit those technologies into an older home, but that's where the bang for the buck will get it, because there are 144 million homes in this country. Only 1 million a year are added, but from us. So we need to address those older homes as well with retrofits. But there are certainly technologies that can do that. And also, it's not only just efficiency; it's healthy homes, and we have technologies in homes to make homes more healthy. And again, it's the same type of technologies. The automation of the home can turn fans on and get fresh air in the home when we need it. The tighter we build the envelope, the more of a concern that is. So we need air exchanges in there.
Build tight and ventilate, right? And we need the humidity to be controlled too, because there could be all sorts of effects on not only health but the finishes of the home if the humidity is wrong.
Yeah, even 20, 30 years ago, you'd have a house where you'd walk into one room and it would be cold, and another room it would be a little humid, and now we're getting
like my office in Boston.
Yeah, exactly. I believe it. And so we're getting to the point where we can have a similar experience, seamless. You don't even feel it. You don't even notice it. Mm-hmm. It's just comfortable throughout, and it's healthier.
So how is this National Quality Council working on? How have they worked on this with you?
They're each doing it. They're each doing it. Each company does it a little differently.
Yeah.
So you'll have, because they go to market differently, but when they come together, they try to identify the products that are ready and scalable and that work. And that have been tested in the field. Tested in a lab doesn't work. You have to test it in the field with real customers, with little kids running around banging into it, like all the daily living experiences of a homeowner, and they can share information on what they found works, what doesn't,
Right.
and then there's so many levers to pull and so many products out there that there's a almost an infinite mix of things you could include in a home,
Right.
and it really is a question of adding the right number to enhance the customer's experience without generating so much upfront cost that it's unaffordable.
Yeah, I want to jump back to advocacy for 1 second.
Sure.
Because, like, is part of your mission, or could part of your mission be advocating upstream to the manufacturers and the trade partners on these innovations? Like,
Yes.
hey, this is what would really work for the guys that are building 250,000 homes a year that
right.
might not be there, or here's the missing ingredient
Yes.
in these I mean, do you have examples of that sort of stuff?
Yeah, that's a huge issue. Other industries tell the manufacturers, here's what we need, here are the specs. For some reason, we don't do that. We take what they give us. So, number of examples. The size of HVAC units that we need. Because the envelope is so tight these days, and the house is better insulated, we can use a much smaller tonnage of HVAC system, but it's not made. If we need a half a ton system, we have to buy a 2-ton system, which uses more electricity, and it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
And they don't make them
Yeah.
because they're most of their market is the 144 million existing homes.
Yeah.
And they need the bigger one. We don't.
Yeah.
So we're trying to work with and glass is a perfect example. We get double pane windows. We'll have a wall that's an R20 insulation factor with 20 windows in it that are R3. Kind of defeats the purpose. You have a big holes in your R20.
Yep.
So we're trying to work with we're being more aggressive working with manufacturers about telling them we need you to innovate, and also telling the government and the labs we need you to sort of spark this technology and maybe invest some of that upfront money that any one manufacturer is not willing to invest, but maybe as an industry they can invest in.
So on the working with the federal government level, like you mentioned mandates, but there's also incentives, right? We have some good incentives in place.
We do.
And if we had more incentives and less mandates, how would you feel about that? Are your members generally pro incentive and
we are.
and con on the mandate side of things?
Yeah. So yes, I think mandates, especially government mandates, tend to be very rigid.
Yeah.
And the home building industry, again, we're in markets all over the country, vastly different weather, vastly different geographies, elevations. That all changes the way you build a home and the technology needed. So one set of rules for everybody, one code for everybody, which is what they did on an energy mandate recently, doesn't work. You need to give the builders flexibility to meet the goal. Tell us what the goal is, and we'll find a way to hit it.
Yeah.
Every builder will find a different way, but we'll hit it. On the incentive side, that works better. There are tax credits, one known as the 45L tax credit, which provides an incentive if you build to Energy Star.
Yeah.
The incentive isn't enough to cover the cost, but it gets pretty close.
Yeah.
So in some places, in the states that it's easier to hit.
Yeah.
So we do think. From a tax policy perspective, policymakers want tax incentive to change behavior.
Yeah.
They don't want you to get it because what you're doing, and you're going to have that behavior anyway, and so you get the credit. That's not efficient. That's not good tax policy. But the tax credits and R&D actually change builder behavior because it does address that upfront cost issue.
And the other place we talked about maybe there being more recognition for the energy efficiency side of things is mortgages, which is, again, a regulated industry.
Correct.
And if there could be additional allowances and mortgages for homes that are more energy efficient, because this all factors into a monthly payment, right?
Correct.
That's what a mortgage provider is concerned about. Are people going to be able to make a monthly payment? But if they've got a monthly payment that's a quarter of what it would be in a used house, how do we get that considered and factored into the equation?
Yeah, so today, when evaluating a mortgage, underwriters look at principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Those are the four factors that they add that up to a monthly payment, compare it to your income, and see if you can afford it based on some ratios. If we added energy to that, which is in many cases more than some of those other ones, and it's a necessary cost that every home owner has, we would be able to have better credit risk, because we would know if you're spending $150 a month, for instance, less in your utilities, you have $150 more disposable income to pay your mortgage. So it makes for a better credit risk for the underwriters, for the banks. That's easy.
Yeah.
It also allows builders and home buyers to add energy efficient features up front, because you can
essentially finance it.
You can finance the upfront costs.
Yeah,
correct. So that's something we've been working on for a long time, and we're finally starting to make some progress on that. I think with some regulators thinking that the time has come. We're at the point where we really need to both on the appraisal side and on the underwriting ratio side, we can do that. And now we're starting to gather the data. We're getting energy ratings put into mortgage data. So the underwriters will start looking at that and doing the math in their head. It's in their best interest to do this. So.
No, I mean, we talk a lot about how do you market these features, because a lot of them are hidden, right? They're in the basement. They're in between the walls.
Yeah.
It's not see it, touch it, buy it, like a lot of finishes and such. So there has to be education, but the best marketing has dollar signs attached to it, right? That's
Absolutely.
really easy to understand. And so it's great that you guys are doing that work.
Yeah, everybody wants efficiency. They just can't afford it.
Yeah. So let's transition to affordability.
Yep.
So there's affordability on the innovation affects affordability on the home building side of things, right? And we have affordability issues having to do with the actual construction of the homes, right? Which is labor shortages, there's supply chain issues.
Yes.
They'll be back. Right now they're in the rear view mirror, but like, where are we going with things like prefabrication and panelization at an incremental level to address affordability, waste, etc.? Are we making solid progress there? Is this something you guys are working on?
Yeah, I think all of our member companies are testing it and using it. Factory built, offsite built panels, trusses, things like that. The goal would be to get the entire house, sort of all the components of a house built off-site and assembled on-site. There's still some challenges that make that not viable yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's clearly where we're going, in the future. We're able to build in a factory setting without weather and the challenges of being outside, a very perfect panels, perfectly insulated, perfectly wired, perfectly square, and that's that would be the goal. The transportation from the factory to the job site is where the problem lies, where we're struggling keeping them intact and not cracked by the time they get to the job site. And in our country, where this works in Japan very well because it's geographically small, so they can put factories throughout the country. Here, we're such a big country geographically that it makes it much more challenging. So, but we are working on it. And today, many of the big builders, if not all of them, have some form of off-site. It's usually panels, trusses, or building components that are built off-site and then brought onto the site.
And you said in Japan they just don't have to go as far because it's a tiny island.
That's right. And smaller homes, and less turnover of fewer new homes are being built there just because geographic issues.
And who owns the transportation piece? Is it the makers of the panelized systems, or who owns that issue? How do we help them solve?
That's I guess the problem, where there's opportunity for us to step in and work with the trucking companies and the transportation companies to figure out a solution there. I don't know of anyone that's working on that, believe it or not. We just kind of accept the fact that this is the truck that's going to show up and we have to make it work. But
you're going to have to advocate with trucking companies.
Correct.
Now, right? The truck makers and the truck
to come
drivers.
up with some technology that allows for a smoother ride.
Very cool. Is affordability, is digital transformation of the regulatory process something that might impact affordability or time to market or anything like that? Is
It's
that
cer-
in a twinkle in your eye or not?
A little bit. It certainly helped on the mortgage side to make mortgages more automated and make them easier to process.
Yeah.
Everything's online. We can do a closing quicker without volumes of paper. A lot of it is electronic these days. It would be helpful if we could sort of move into that direction on the building permitting side.
Yeah.
And every jurisdiction's different. Every local jurisdiction does it different. Most of them are still on paper. But moving to permitting approvals that are electronic would be
Would be cool. So you
would be
take
cool.
all of these different local jurisdictions, at least have a standardized platform for the data exchange,
right.
even if they're going to have great variety in terms of their requirements. But that would ease a burden for your national builders, right?
And as a national builder, it would allow us to look at one dashboard and see where we stand, rather than having to learn on paper and somebody to go through. So it would be
So is
huge
that
opportunity.
Is that an advocacy project that's underway, or
It's not. It's not. That just hasn't risen up yet.
Okay.
But we'll put that on the to-do list.
Yeah, I think the one other thing I wanted to touch on was on this affordability piece, and going back to the mortgage, is we've got energy efficiency, but we also have repair and maintenance on new homes versus used homes. So the mortgage is not considering the repair and maintenance profile of a 50-year-old home versus a new home where a lot of the products are warranted for 2 to 10 years. And we have the insurance industry could probably give us a good picture of what the repair profile is for new versus used. I mean, is that something that we might be able to get the mortgage industry to consider as well?
Yeah, we've talked about that in the past. Certainly, from a maintenance and repairs, you're looking pretty good for the first 10 years because most of the components of the home are warranted for that long. So certainly, the cost of ownership of new is lower, without question. And I would argue that the quality of the home from a property insurance perspective, which is a rising crisis in this country, is much better on a new home. They're much more solidly built, cutting edge technology, and much less prone to some of the climate risks we've been seeing lately. So yes, that's something we are working on to try to tackle.
Very cool. Hey, you got a lot going on. You're a busy guy with a busy membership that seems really actively engaged. So congratulations on that. That's not as a former association executive, I know that's not easy to do. But I really appreciate you sharing with us today. So you've got your member group. Are other builders able to assist in this mission by providing information, or are they able to benefit from some of the reporting that you do beyond your membership?
Yeah, I think so. I think being sort of half of the market, my membership, when we're able to bring that sort of clout to the manufacturers and to regulators to effectuate change, I think that does bring a rising tide lifts all boats. And we do work with smaller builders, regional builders, and even some custom builders at the local level. When we get out, we didn't talk about it, but we do work at the state level on advocacy and issues, and that's when we get an opportunity to collaborate through home builders associations at the local level to really bring some of this technology down to them.
And how can the manufacturers and the other trade partners work with you in some of these project areas? I mean, are they able to provide you with data or other forms of support that would help you push the ball forward?
There's tremendous opportunity there, and that's something I think is going to be our focus moving forward, is talking and communicating more with our manufacturers. We need them to understand, and we've probably done a poor job at this, but we need them to understand our challenges. Yes, you have a great product. It's a wonderful product, but why? And they don't understand why we're not putting it into our homes. Yeah. So they need to have a better view into the challenges that we're facing, and the fact that they're one of 123 vendors knocking at our door on any given day. So help us help you by as we talked about earlier, creating a product that helps us solve our problems and make it scalable.
Yep.
So those are the things, like have a product that if we're trying to be more efficient or automate the home or solve a ventilation problem, don't just make a product don't just make the fan. Talk to the switch manufacturer and have you both come in together and say, okay, the sensor and the fan work together. They're seamless.
System solutions.
System
I
solutions.
keep saying we come at builders in pieces and parts and make it really difficult for them to get a full solution. So if we could get it
you've put your finger on it. If we could get a solution
because I come
that's
from the
seamless.
home technology industry. We're really guilty of pieces and parts approach.
Yes. And one of my builders recently said the worst thing about turning a home over at closing to a customer is they have to download 25 apps because every piece of technology has a different app, and they hate that. We need one. We need seamless. And if we can get to that, we're
there. It's just needs to happen in real life.